a group of generic drug manufacturers have been busted working together to drive up the cost of generic drugs in the United States. The cartel, and it is purely a drug cartel, use special coded language, as a matter of fact. They had their own lingo to help each other keep and plan secret meetings about how they can affect the prices of drugs. When I first saw this story, I had to reread the first few paragraphs a few times because it seemed so improbable that you have these CEOs that are meeting in what they call girls' night out. That's part of their lingo. Let's have a girls' night out meeting. Now, the girls' night out meeting may be in Berlin. It's the most exclusive restaurant in the world. It could be in Tokyo at the most exclusive bar in the world. But girls' night out is where these CEOs go and meet, and they have their lingo. They talk about their lingo is really pretty remarkable. It is part of it is what they call fair share. Now, everybody around the table understands we all have to have our fair share. What that is, that's code for let's all raise the prices together. The other part of the lingo is Joe seems to be wanting to trash the market. That's part of trashing the market is part of the lingo. Joe wants to do the right thing, and that's treat generics like generics. Pick it up from there.
The one that stood out to me the most was the Sandbox.
Yeah.
The Sandbox is where all these generic drug makers go to play. And by play, they mean sell our drugs. And the fair share applies to the Sandbox because it says, okay, in this particular city, there's 2 CVS's, there's 2 Walgreens, there's 2 Rite Aids. So, me, I'm president of company A, I'm going to take all the CVS. You, company B, you get the Walgreens. Company C, you take the Rite Aids, the Ready Marts, the smaller ones. But that's everybody's fair share. So CVS can only offer my prescription drug. You have a competitive drug, but we're not going to sell them in the same store because that'll drive down the prices. So anybody who goes to Walgreens gets your drugs, they go to CVS, they get my drugs. That's fair share.
Okay.
And they colluded to prevent one another from overstepping their lines in the Sandbox to keep those prices artificially high to the tune of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 markups on generic drugs.
Okay, so in the whole notion of generic, if you think about it, the only reason generic has gotten by, they've avoided so many pitfalls. I mean, you can't even sue a generic company the same way that you can sue the original manufacturer. There's all kinds of road problems getting to even sue a generic company. But the generic company said, well, we want this special treatment because we're different. We have lower prices. We can keep the market down. That was their big sale. So now we find that what's interesting about this, these are old drugs, Farron.
Yeah.
These aren't new drugs where they're saying, well, research and development has changed. That's ridiculous talk. These are drugs that have been on the market for 10, 15 years.
Albuterol for asthma, EpiPen injections, insulin. I mean, again, these have been around for decades. The R&D paid for itself back in the 60s.
Right.
This is pure profit.
Okay,
and that is what drove them here.
Let's name some names here. Mylan, Teva, and Dr. Reddy. Those are some of the companies. The people involved, let me name their names too. Rajic Malik. Rajic Malik is part of the Sandbox, who is gouging people all over. He's the guy making decisions to raise prices 2,000 and 3,000% on generics. Another guy's named Jeff Glazer. So Jeff Glazer and Rajic Malik. The other guy's Jacob Malik. I don't know if they're brothers, but they certainly are thugs. And so what's happening is the government doing anything about it? Finally, yes. Department, actually, you know what? I can't really say that. This is really generated out of Connecticut. The Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut is leading the charge. 47 states have taken a close look at it. I think they're going to have a problem. But here again, and I've said this so many times, if you don't throw them in jail, all right, this is a felony. I mean, there's no question. Matter of fact, one company has already pled, and they're trying to avoid going to prison.
Yeah, so they're cooperating right now, turning over all the info on their Sandbox.
Correct.
Which needs to happen.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But if you let them go, and you don't throw them in prison, this just happens again. Big fines don't make any difference, and we've talked about it. You've got to take Mr. Malik put him in handcuffs, walk him in a perp walk, and let him spend a little time in the pokey.
Well, here's
there's no other way to put it.
And here's why people have to understand this, why those big fines don't work. This is a $109 billion per year generic drug industry. So even if they fined them $100 billion, which they never would, you'd never see a fine that high. I think the highest we've seen is $10 billion, which got reduced. But nonetheless, even $100 billion, okay, well, that's 1 year out of this multi-decade scam they've been running. So they made huge profits off it.
It's the double standard of justice, right?
Yeah.
We're going to throw a kid in prison for his entire life if he's caught selling marijuana, 20 ounces of marijuana on a street corner. I mean, he's going to prison. If he does it 3 times, he's going away for life. These guys, I mean, take that same scenario, nobody goes to prison because they wear suits, they're on Wall Street, they've got Harvard educations, and they look very distinguished.
They're robbing you with the briefcase instead of the gun.
Right, exactly.